and I'm trying to get a receptacle, a 30 amp receptacle, which I'll explain here in just a minute why I'm doing it. But I got an RV and it's getting pretty warm outside, getting pretty hot. I need to run the AC unit on the RV. So everything in this panel, service panel, is 20 amp right now. And I'll explain, there's a couple 30s in here, but I'll explain that here in just a second. Welcome back to K&L Farms. I'm Ken. I hope this video finds you well. But for right now, I need to get a single pole 30 in here to run this receptacle so I can run air conditioners. Air conditioners on the RV right now, they either don't run, or if they do, they trip a breaker. And I'll explain that in just a second too also. Now before I get started on any electrical job, I have a tester. Actually, the homestead has multiple testers, but this is a tester I'm going to use today. And if you don't, and I strongly advise you do, because I've had my share of cases in my lifetime where I thought it was off, or somebody said it was off, I didn't test it, and then come to find out that in fact it was not off. So I'm going to leave a link in my description for a set of testers that I don't own, but I would like to own, because this one here I can't link because it's probably an antique. Okay, so let's get the panel off so I can go further in to actually explain what I've got going on here. Before I actually set the receptacle box by the door. Door is, it'd be to the east. I'm in the big shop right now. And the last time I was actually in here was probably, I don't know, 20, 21 years ago. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on inside here. The only thing I do know is double pole. I got two double poles, and I'll explain that in just a minute. Two double poles, and it was running, I believe, let's see, hot water heater and a dryer on the west end of this shop. And I've eliminated those two items. Those two items don't exist. So I'm going to take a double pole and change them to two single poles. And I can explain that in just a second. I will. And the other thing I was going to explain, say you come up to a service panel, you're somewhere, and you don't know. You didn't do it. I did this myself. I did this 20 years ago. I built this myself. And it's pretty full. The service panel is pretty full, except it's got one slot or two slots. And you're going to put a single pole 30 amp 120 service in there. You might be careful because you might be overloading the panel. Now this panel, I believe, is 200 amp. Remember, I'm in an agricultural building, so I ran 200 amps in here. Most homes are 125 amps, and you could start tripping the whole system. Just because you have a slot left doesn't mean you have enough amps left. So let me go through single pole and double pole breakers here in just a minute. I have an example. Okay, so this is a double pole, and I don't know why they did that, but I had been in the trades for years and years. And I was actually, at that time, I was a planner, maintenance planner. You could say a logistic officer. I had to go make sure that we had enough parts. The job come up, and we had enough pieces to do the job. So we didn't have enough we didn't have our craftsmen out there get 3/4 of the way done with the job and find out we didn't have all the parts. That was my job. And they sent me for a double pole. And it's just basically a electrical term for single breaker, single pole, just a single breaker, double pole, double breaker. The only thing is, single pole, in my experience, can only be for 120. Double pole is usually for 240. So it's got 120 coming out of each leg, goes out in the world, does an application, and that means it needs 240. On that. So this is what I'm going to take out. This is a double pole right here. Hoping you can see it. If you can't, I'll give you a different screenshot. Double pole, double pole. Both these double poles aren't being utilized right now. And so I'm going to change that. My intent is to change that single pole, we just went over. Now we just went over that. Now remember that everything virtually everything. And electricity is involved in, say I put this 30 amp single pole I just showed you, and I put that in there and I get a white wire. White wire is a 14 gauge. The breaker's not going to trip, the wire is going to burn up. So say I do that, and I might have an example of that here in just a minute. But I do that, I put a single pole 30 amp breaker in, and I use a chunk of, just a minute, I'll try and find one. I use a single pole 30 amp breaker, 120 with a yellow wire. 14 or 12, white wire is 14, yellow wire is 12. I think, in my experience, has been 12, has been good up to 20 amps. You'll have to research that. Don't take me for the gospel because I'm not 100% sure. I guess that's the way I've done it. So I got a scrap piece of wire. I don't know if you say scrap, but a remnants piece of wire that I'm going to use. And I know that an orange wire, color coded on the outside, orange wire is good for 30 amps. I believe it is. In my world it is anyway. You'll have to research that, make sure. And the other thing is this piece of remnants wire is actually a 10-3. I need a 10-2, but the cost of wire anymore is expensive, so I'm just going to use this piece of remnants, and I'm going to take and delete a piece of wire out of this. I'm not going to utilize it. And I've always, black, white, and ground is what I'm going to utilize, and the other wire I think is red. The red wire I won't connect. So let's try and get this panel off here in just a minute, and I'll give you a tip on that too. And got a driver, and I think everybody, when they're going to service panel, they actually go with the straight or standard, and I think the center of that is actually square, and I'd much rather use that, but let me see if I am correct or not. There we go. Okay, got a square tip driver because it's much easier to take that panel off. Well, the other thing is I haven't turned lights or the power off yet because one, I like to test it before and after, and two is lights. Lights will drop out, and part of this video will be in the dark or darker because lights will be off. Let me put these screws, I'm going to put them right in this tool belt for right now. Makes it much easier with the square driver. Everybody goes and gets a standard driver, and it makes it more difficult. Okay. Remember, I know that's live. There is power going through that right now. Okay. Oh, I did. See that? I did land. But they're not, this one, and this one, and this one, these four wires, nothing's hooked up. I know that on the west end there's nothing applied. I put the application in there. Whoops, I don't want to touch that again. I put that's actually the approval. And remember, I haven't been in here in 20 years, so I don't know. I didn't even know that I put this connection on there that I'm going to need later and explain. And I didn't know that I put, which probably shouldn't be in here, an empty container of lube. So let's get rid of that. I'm going to find a garbage can and throw that away. I don't know why that's in there, but it was. Okay, so See, I've got it split. I've got the ground split on the ground with that. That's a factory ground or ground going. That's actually the 4th wire rule on that ongoing. And if I trip that breaker off, remember this below the breaker would be off. I'm assuming I'm going to test. And this above the breaker, that, and that are going to be live the whole time. I got grounds on one side, neutrals on the other side, whites are neutral. And I've got the power leading to all these, but I need to take this one and this one off. I'm going to use this breaker, leave it off, probably wire nut it, and put some tape on it. But for right now, let's just test that. And I'm hoping I can actually give you an idea. And I'm going to flip that breaker off so I might lose the lights. Got this up here, and I'm going to put one on this ground, and one, I'm going to do that different. I'm going to actually use this for a pointer. Okay. Okay, I'm going to use the other camera. Hope you can see it. Oh, guess what? Wouldn't be any power on that. That breaker's turned off. Okay, put that back on the ground. Let's go on to something that we've got turned on. Okay, see the light? And there's a vibration in this controller or this tester. Lights on. Okay, lights on. We got power right now. This one's off. This one's off. I'm not sure what function they serve right now, but they're not being utilized. And see how I don't have, this is all off. This breaker's off. This one's hot. This one's off. This one's hot. That's why I know that there's enough room in this service panel to actually do this. So let's flip this breaker off. Hopefully lights go off, the fridge and the freezer behind me go off, and then I know it's off enough that I can pull this wire, get them out of the way for right now. Okay, let's flip this off. Okay, so I turned the lights back on, and I've decided against pulling this breaker and these leads. And so I went and bought a breaker. It's a single pole 30 amp breaker. Now I've done that. This is the second time I've done that. And I went to a box store and bought a breaker previously that was just a generic one. It was supposed to fit all breaker panels. It does not. So then I had to go back and actually get, that's a square D breaker panel. I had to get a square D. So I'm going to turn the power back off here, and hopefully the camera, I've got a different camera on. Hopefully the camera can actually see me install this, and then turn the breaker back on. So here we go. And I'm hoping you can still see it. That breaker fits good. Power back on, hopefully. Power back on. Okay, so we know this is where the power is coming from. This is the power source, and I'm going to go to the other end because I was always taught power source and then go to the other end. So say you're doing a light circuit or you're doing an outlet circuit. I like to hang all the outlets on the circuit. So depending on what you're doing so say you're doing a receptacle line on a 20 amp, put all your receptacles out. Say you're doing on that same circuit, you got a new breaker, you do all your receptacles, and then you're going to do a light off that. Hang the light switch box where you want it to be, hang the light receptacle where you want it to be, and hang all your mechanical pieces where you want it to be out in the field. So we're going to go to that end here in just a minute. I'm going to show you me hanging the receptacle box for this 30 amp breaker. And then I come back, once I get that set, I'll come back, and I've already got a wire temped out. This wire is temped out going that way, but remember also that you have to have the appropriate wire ran. You can't just pick any piece of wire. You got to have the appropriate size. So let's go to the other end, and I'll do that real quick. Okay, I'm on the other end, and I put a 2x4 block. I hope you can see it, and I'll get that piece out here in just a minute, because this is 6x6, got a light circuit already, and this box I couldn't really fit very well. So I just took a piece of 2x4. I think I cut it 8 inches long. I want that elevated because I don't want grandkids to actually get into this box, and that's another thing that I've done, and I may have to look a little bit for that piece. But let's start out with this receptacle is supposed to fit in this box like that. And if I put it in this box like that, I know the first thing when the kids get bigger and they can reach that, they're going to stick their finger in there. So I've got a cover plate for this too. There's a cover plate. So what I did was cover plate, receptacle. Well, actually, let me invert that a little bit so you can actually see it. Cover plate. I'm sorry, receptacle, cover plate. Grandkids can't get their fingers in there. That's why I'm doing this. So let me go get the driver and one more screw, and I'm going to hook that just roughly in the center because I want that receptacle to be by the door. There's a door right here. Okay, and I got a screw here, or fastener. Bring that up. Try and get that started and make sure that that gun's going the correct direction. Oh, it's in reverse. Okay. Somewhere, of course, the center. Something like that. I'm going to put 3 screws in it. More. Okay, got that box where I want it. Temp wire. Now the other thing that I've learned over years of experience is go long. There's nothing worse than running a whole bunch of stuff and then figure out that your wire is not long enough. Well, that's probably appropriate. And then after you get all of your stuff roughed in, then you can cut back the length. But don't cut back the length or leave yourself short, because it really is a problem. So I don't know if I can get that in there or not. I may have to go get a screwdriver. Okay, get your wire pulled through, and then you're going to staple this out. And I think the standard is every 6 inches. So 6 inches, 6 inches, all the way up, and then I'll staple out. I got a rat run going that way, all the way over to that power station. But that's the start of being roughed in. Okay, so I got the wire stapled up, and now it's time to try and get the outlet hooked up. And so remember, I told you to keep it long until you get to the point where you decide what the true length is. And they like to strip this insulation off the outside within a ½ an inch of the back of the box. So in my experience, it's just as much as you can get out of there. Cut that like that. And then including this shield around the ground, and get that pulled back. And you want as much of that out of that box as you can get out. So get it pulled clean, and I'll show you here in just a minute. Pulled clean as much as you can and trim it off without getting a finger in the way. Trim it off, okay? And then most new insulation, you just throw that in the ditch, but I'm going to throw it on the ground for right now. And then remember, I'm using 3-wire, tan 3-wire, this red wire here, is obsolete. I don't need that. So I'm just gonna wrap it up in the box a little bit and towards the back. Just stuff that in there because that's a 220 wire. Black wire, white wire, ground wire, and this is a 120 wire. And then what I do, well, first of all, I think I'm gonna shorten that because I've concluded I don't need this much wire. So I'm just gonna trim that off a little bit. Trim that one off. That's power. Ground, trim that off a little bit. Ground wire, and I'm going to trim the neutral wire or the white wire. And I like to trim it off approximately a half an inch. And if you got a good set of wire strippers, which these are getting kind of long in the tooth, old a little bit, so it becomes hard. And so that's about a half an inch. My ground wire is uninsulated, don't have to worry about the ground wire right now. And so I'm going to do the neutral wire about the same, about a half. Okay, that might be more close to 9/16, but that's okay. 9/16 a half. And then I'm going to find the receptacle. I want the receptacle to sit smiley face. Well, that's actually a frowning face, but frowning face, I want the ground down. And on the back of it, I don't even know if I can see this right now, but it actually says on it, it says white, green, green means ground, and then it's got a black terminal on it. So I'm going to work on that here in just a minute. Okay, had to go get my reading glasses and a flashlight because I couldn't see. And okay, that bottom one, this terminal on the bottom is ground. That means that the top terminal is white. Now remember, the other end of this is not landed yet. I haven't hooked the other end up yet. So this one, I'll need a flashlight. It's in the correct orientation. Get a light on and get that ground put in there. Okay, the ground's in there. Get a screwdriver and tighten up the ground. You want to make sure that the ground is hooked up. Okay, ground's in place. Okay, so then we gotta land the white wire still, neutral wire. And then kind of hold the neutral wire in place. Get it started a little bit. Okay, they're tight. Kind of tug on them. Make sure they're seated. Yeah, they're seated. And then get your box pushed in there. That wire, those wires will bend a little bit. Okay, like that. Okay, now I told you I need a fascia plate on there, and I'll get a bolt. And then I got the wrong driver on there. I'll switch the driver onto this Phillips tip driver, and then I actually want to use the longer screws. It actually came with 2 sets of screws, so Let's get them out of there and see if I don't spill them. Okay, and that worked pretty good. And then make sure that it looks like a Phillips tip. Okay, and then kind of get this screw. I started it in that hole a little bit. I've got a driver. Okay, and then we want to pull that over. Okay, this. Get the light and bound and hook it to my hat so I can see what I'm doing a little bit. Okay, get the driver back. I know that this is going to be hard to see on the camera, but it's actually hard for me to see not on the camera, but okay, now another screw. Okay, so we got the receptacle mounted, wires ready to go. We're going to move to the other end because this should be good. This is done for now. Grandkids can't get their fingers inside there, and so let's move up to the breaker panel here in just a minute. Okay, up on the breaker panel, and I was going to show you this fitting. This fitting actually, take a knock out the top of the panel, take this nut off, slip this through the panel, put this nut back on. And that's backwards, but nut back on. Thread it up there, and then spin this so that this tightens up against the top of this wire going through the top of the panel. Okay, but that's already been established up there. Then the other thing I said was, and remember, that's hot right now. Everything in there is hot. So I'm trying to get this cut. And I'm trying to get it cut to a 1/2 inch to the top of the panel, and it's long. See how it's long? I need to land the black here, ground here, common here, or white here, and then the red, I'll just tuck up to the top. I don't need the red, because this is a piece of wire that I actually had a remnants from another job. So I didn't have to buy wire with wire prices right now. Okay, so cut that down, and be careful because everything in there is hot still because of lights. I need lights in order to illustrate what I'm trying to do. And then I'll cut this piece of insulation off here in just a minute. Okay, so I got the insulation, and remember, I got to clean the ground. So that these are actually wires I'm going to utilize. Don't want to touch that. Don't want to touch anything hot right now. I actually want this tucked up on that like that, so I don't come in contact with anything. And then I'm going to cut that within a 1/2 inch at the top of the breaker. Looks like that. Those on the deck, I don't need those pieces. Okay, so I'm going to go long right now with my stuff is all long. And the first thing I'm going to do is tuck up a piece of ground. I'm going to put a kind of an arc in it because I don't want to touch that. And then I'm going to put an arc over here like this. And then I'm going to get my snippers, and I'm still long. Still going long. Cut that. Okay, the red wire that I'm not utilizing at all, I'm gonna make a loop, and I'll put that towards the top, because that wire was just a spare, and I'm just gonna tuck that in to the top for right now, up, something like that. Black wire, I know I'm gonna go over the main leads, go down like this, and then go like that, and I'm going to cut that. I'm going to cut it long still. Cut it long. White wire is not an issue. I'm going to roll that around underneath of these two wires for right now, and I'm going to go long still. And then I'm going to kill the power, and I'm hoping that you can still see what I'm doing. Okay, power's gonna go off because I gotta land background over here, that black on the new breaker, that white on here. I've got the, right now I have it split for our main panel. Main panel, ground's on one side, common's on the other, neutral's on the other, and black wire, of course, is gonna land on this right here. But I gotta shut the power off to do that. Power's off. I'm hoping you can still see me. And then what I do, just like I said before, I strip about 1/2 inch, 5/8, 1/2 inch. Strip that one, and about 5/8, and strip that one. Both of them are stripped. I'm gonna go find that flashlight. Okay, got my hood lamp on. Power should be off on the bottom end. I'm going to find a screwdriver. I like this one. Okay, I like this one. Unscrew the neutral and tuck it in. Get it tucked in pretty good so that you actually see wire going on the other side. And tighten it down. Okay, it's tightened down. Find the ground. I need the ground. Whoops. And kind of keep it untangled. You don't want it tangled up. Ground. Going to come down here. I'm going to put a split in it right about there, and I'm going to cut that because I still got it too long. Cut that. And let's put it behind those wires. Behind those wires, and then tuck it in behind here. Okay. Find the appropriate. Let's go with this one. Unbolt that. Put it behind the wires. Okay, and then land it on that ground. Poke it through, and then tighten it up. So now you got your neutral landed and your ground. And get it pretty tight. Okay, that's good. Now, the only thing you have left is you got to land this power wire, black wire. Kind of get it tucked behind that stuff and spin it, and it's too long. Still too long. Cut it short and then strip it 5/8. Strip 5/8, and then take this and unscrew this nut. Unscrew that back. Okay, got that unscrewed. And then tuck it in here and then set it or land it. There, it's landed, and tighten that up. And make sure it's tight. Okay, once it's tight, gotta make sure it's tucked back. And then all I have to do is put the service panel back on, flip the breaker, and see if it works, which I'm sure it's gonna. And I can put the panel back on, but I gotta strip a plug out. Okay, so